Congress has released Jeffrey Epstein's birthday book, including a lewd note allegedly signed by Trump. Handwriting expert Emma Batchy, I'm not sure if that's how you say her name.
B-A-C-H-E.
Yes. Says,
I think it's Batch.
Batch. Says the signature is absolutely his, despite Trump's denials.
We're going to talk about that, and we're going to look at those signatures. But let's step back a moment, Sam.
Okay, let's step back.
Right. What did Pam Bondi first say about the so-called Epstein materials?
They're on her desk.
And she's ready to release them. What's the next thing she said? They don't exist.
Yeah.
Right? And the Wall Street, of course, now, not only do they exist, but the Republicans on the Oversight Committee released 30,000 pages of the non-existent Epstein materials. Of course, they didn't tell you anything. It was almost all stuff that was publicly known, and what wasn't publicly known was heavily redacted. And we now know that's just a small piece of these so-called non-existent Jeffrey Epstein files. So this whole thing begins, as it so often does, with another big lie. And then the Wall Street Journal, Sam, published this article claiming that Donald Trump had sent this lewd, suggestive birthday card on Epstein's 50th birthday in 2003, which was not only disgraceful in terms of what it portrayed, but seemed to indicate Trump knew exactly what was going on with Jeffrey Epstein. And, of course, we get the next big lie, right, Sam?
Right.
This doesn't exist. It's a Democratic hoax, just like Joe Biden winning the election is a Democratic hoax, or climate change is a Democratic hoax. Guess what? It turns out not to be a Democratic hoax, right, Sam? Guess what turned up, as you pointed out?
The letter.
The letter.
The letter.
The letter. It was materials collected again by the Republican-dominated House Oversight Committee, although released by Democrats. So there it is. You can't claim it doesn't exist. So you got to shift off that lie.
Right.
And argue two different things.
Okay.
One, it's still a Democratic hoax because somehow back in 2003, right, Sam?
Right.
22 years ago, a dozen years before Donald Trump became a political candidate, somehow 12 years before he went down that escalator in 2015 and announced his candidacy, some foresightful Democrat figured, oh my God, we have to smear Donald Trump. And they inserted this hoked up forgery into the birthday book. Now, if you believe that, Sam, I got a big bridge to sell you in my hometown of Brooklyn. Come on.
But he was, the whole Democrat hoax is, I mean,
it's nonsense. And they would have had to hire a forger. You know, the whole thing is absurd on its face.
Of course, I don't buy it. But he was very famous in 2003.
So what? There was no reason for the Democrats or anyone to do that to him. Come on.
No, I'm not saying there was. I'm just saying he wasn't nobody in 2003.
I didn't say he was nobody, but he had no political influence or interest at that time.
I don't know how true that is. I don't think that's true. That
it's absolutely true. Even in 2014, right before the 2016.
No, I meant I don't think the stuff that Trump is saying is true at all.
All right, we'll get to that. Let's get to that. But I think even before you get to the details, the idea that some Democrat 22 years ago hired
absurd.
a forger,
it's absurd.
It's absurd.
Yeah.
So the whole argument that it's a Democratic hoax is absurd on its face. But let's look at the two substantive arguments that they made. Number one, it's not Donald Trump's signature. And to try to prove that, they looked at signatures from the present, 20 years or more after he signed that. Well, we know people's signature changes, evolves over time, particularly as you get older. I know mine does, as I'm almost the same age as Donald Trump. So what signatures would be most relevant, Sam?
Signatures from the time?
From the time or close to the time. So their argument that it doesn't resemble Donald Trump's signature from 2024 or 2025 is irrelevant. What is relevant is looking at his earlier signatures. And I think before we get to that, let's look at the card itself.
Okay, let's do it. 1 second.
The so-called card that didn't exist.
Here's a so-called card that didn't exist, but now exists.
So it's the silhouette of a woman, right?
Yes.
With breasts kind of sketched in and a lot of verbiage in the middle, and this signature down where you would expect the private parts of a woman to be. Now remember, this isn't way out of character for Donald Trump, is it?
No.
No. Donald Trump bragged in the Access Hollywood tape that as a star, he can grab women by their pussies. And there he is, signing it right there by a woman's private parts. If this was someone else, maybe one can argue, oh, this is so out of character that it makes no sense. This is right in character for Donald Trump, the guy who bragged about grabbing women by their private parts.
So what are they saying happened? Somebody got the book and inserted a forged letter from Trump? Is that their main point? Or they're not even getting that
I don't
specific?
even think they've gotten that far. Their main... Let's first see what this thing says. We've now kind of described what it looks like and made the point this is not out of character.
Right.
This is right in character for Donald Trump.
So it's typed out and it's actually in screenplay format, which is all a little strange, but that's what it is.
It's in what format, Sam?
Screenplay format.
What is that?
A screenplay for like a movie.
Oh, like a movie.
Yeah.
Got it.
It starts with voiceover. There must be more to life than having everything. Donald. This is like dialogue, Donald.
Yes,
Jeffrey.
Donald's dialogue.
Yeah, Donald. Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is. Jeffrey. Nor will I, since I also know what it is. Donald. We have certain things in common, Jeffrey.
Stop there. Certain things in common. In other words, associating himself, presuming he wrote this, and we'll get to that, explicitly with Jeffrey Epstein, right?
Right. We have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, yes, we do, come to think of it.
So Jeffrey acknowledges that they have certain things in common.
Donald, enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? Jeffrey, as a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you. Donald, a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday. And may every day be another wonderful secret. Donald J. Trump.
So they understand each other. They know what's going on. And they're sharing a wonderful secret. Well, what is Jeffrey...
I have to say something. If this is real, this is totally pedo-coded. Like, it's so...
totally what?
Pedo-coded.
What is that?
Like pedophile coded.
Oh, yeah. Oh, please expand.
It's so, like, there's so many weird, creepy sexual references, especially to age and secrets, and it's so weird and creepy.
Right. It's not explicit, but
no, but
short of that,
yeah.
You're right. It's obvious what's going on.
Like I said, if this is totally real, it's creepy to say the least.
Yeah, and I don't think the media has stressed enough how creepy this is and how consistent this is with pedophilia, which is, what other secret are they sharing?
I don't know. That's the $1 million question, I guess.
Yeah, but as you say, it's pretty obvious what they're talking about. And the year before, in 2002, Donald Trump is on tape. It's recorded. So, again, maybe it's... He didn't even go so far as to say that was a Democratic hoax. Saying Jeffrey Epstein is a great guy, and like me, he likes beautiful women, and we know he likes them young. Duh. Again, this is not out of character.
Now, to clarify the whole Democratic hoax thing. You keep going back to that, and he has said that. But has he said that specifically in reference to this letter? I think he's been talking about that generally.
Donald Trump is not precise, but I think he's including this as part of the Democratic hoax.
And we should add that in this birthday book, there was also a handwritten note from Bill Clinton.
Yes, and Alan Dershowitz and other prominent.
Right. Much less. I mean, there was nothing
like this.
Nothing to the Bill Clinton. It was just like, hey, thanks for giving back to the world. I don't know, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, some platitude.
But he was in it.
Yeah. Hey, I think Bill Clinton's a creep too, but he's not president. He's not the most powerful person in the world. He has been president for 25 years.
True.
I really don't care about Bill Clinton, to be honest with you, and no reason to. But again,
I think that's too far. You have to care that a former president.
Yes, of course, but there's nothing as damning as this. And we don't want to get distracted into whatabouts. That's,
it's not whatabouts. It's not whatabouts. It's important. If he's a predator, it's important for him to come out.
We need to focus on the most powerful person in the world.
I agree.
Who really is shaping our destiny, not someone from 25 years ago.
I agree.
I always thought Bill Clinton was a womanizer and a creep.
Yeah, I agree that we should focus on Trump, but we shouldn't ignore the fact that Bill Clinton is also very sketchy in all this as well.
Yes, but not nearly as sketchy as this. As you said, it was just a platitude that he submitted to Jeffrey Epstein. But Trump would love to focus on Bill Clinton. That would fall right into his trap.
Right.
They are the masters of whataboutism.
Yeah, you're right.
I was on News Nation last week, and a right-wing host, and his whole thing about whether Donald Trump was a threat to our democracy was all whataboutism. He looked at 12 years of Biden and Obama and cherry-picked whatever he could find, to try to show, they're just as bad as Trump. Of course, in 12 years, he didn't come close to finding anything remotely like what Trump has done in 7 months. But his whole attack was whataboutism. Yeah. So I really am very sensitive to focus on what we need to focus on.
I agree. We should focus on Trump.
Yes.
I just added that because I think that's a key detail.
No, I'm glad you added it, and it's relevant. As I said, lots of prominent people. Some prominent Brit was on there, and Alan Dershowitz, who said, I don't remember, I don't recall, right? Okay. So we know how creepy this is, how consistent it is with the context of Donald Trump. And as you point out, and very presciently, this is right in the wheelhouse of the way pedophilias communicate with each other.
Ew,
right smack there. So, two defenses. They can't say it doesn't exist anymore because there it is.
Right.
So now they say it's a forgery.
Right.
For two reasons. One, that's not Donald Trump's signature. Okay. And as I said, their argument is ridiculous. They're looking at signatures from 20 years later. People's signatures change, particularly as they get older. I'm almost as old as Trump, and my signature has certainly changed when I've gotten into my 70s.
Right.
So what's relevant is looking at more contemporary signatures, and we've done that. I mean, we didn't do it, but we've discovered the photos in the media. Can you bring it up?
The signature stuff?
The signature. I couldn't even tell you, which is from his 2003 book and which is something else.
Well, it says it right here. So this...
that's not my point.
Why are you so combative tonight?
Yeah, I'm very combative because I'm really, really focused on this.
I was just going to read the...
No, but you missed my point. Okay. If you didn't look at that left panel, no way to tell which of these is from the birthday book and which of these is from something else. That's my point.
Correct.
If it was a forgery, you'd be able to say, oh, that one's different, right?
Right.
But, use your common sense.
No, I think the top three look the same.
Right. The last one is the 2020. The last two that don't look the same are 2022 and 2025, the ones they've tried from 20 or more years later to argue.
Wait, we have evidence to add to this.
We do.
You have a signed letter from Donald Trump.
From 2016.
Go get it.
All right.
Wow. We're breaking news here tonight. I didn't even think about that.
No. Now it's kind of in between, but closer to the contemporary.
I'm trying to read the chat. Someone says, profess hangry. Sam, let your dad talk. Oh my God, I always let him talk, guys. That's not an issue.
Oh my God, you're not going to believe this, Sam.
What?
It looks just like the 2003.
2000.
Whole name.
2005. 2025.
No.
Oh.
2003.
Oh, okay.
It looks
Hold it
like.
Up. Hold on, hold it up. Lower it a little bit. Okay, there you go.
It looks like if you just look at the Donald, right?
Hold it up a little bit.
What do you?
Hold it.
I can't focus with the dog.
Keeks, come here. Hold it up a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
We good?
Yeah.
Just look at the Donald part of it. This is a verified signature. It was sent to me after I predicted his win in 2016. Yeah. And if you just look at the Donald, even though it's 13 years later, it is very, very similar.
It doesn't have that. It doesn't have that long tail.
Right, because it's not just Donald.
It's not just
Can't have that long tail.
Yeah.
Because it's both. He signed his full name. That's why I've asked you just to look at the Donald.
Right.
Here, and you can see how
see
close.
It real quick. I can't really see it from. Sorry, 1 second.
You got that big V at the top. You got the long L. You got the kind of squiggles in the middle. You wouldn't be able to tell if I just took out the Trump and just left the Donald. You would not be able to tell which is 2003 and which is this one. They are so similar, and much more similar to the 2003 than to the 2022 and 2025. Again, Donald Trump tells you, don't believe what you see with your own eyes, right? Don't believe what you hear with your own eyes. Only believe what I tell you. Well, here you can see with your own eyes that this is absolutely consistent with the way Donald Trump has signed his name, at least through 2016, and maybe not, as he's gotten older in 2022 and 2025, which is absolutely irrelevant. You be the judge. Come on. Believe your eyes. Don't believe what Donald Trump tells you.
Should we do a poll?
Yes. Good idea. That was really smart to bring up that.
I forgot about that, yeah.
And we didn't know what it looked like. We didn't know if it contradicted or not, but it absolutely supports the idea that that's a real signature.
So what's the poll question? Is
it Donald Trump's signature?
Is the Epstein note really Trump's signature?
Yes, or we can wait because I want to get to the next claim, and then we can take a poll. Is this genuinely from Donald Trump? That's a broader question.
Okay.
The next argument they make, which is easily debunked, he doesn't draw things, right? Mm-hmm. He would never draw anything and send it to someone.
Right.
Well, that is even more easily debunked. You don't have to strain your eyes examining signatures, do you? He frequently has drawn things right out in the public domain. This is all Donald Trump stuff.
All of this.
All of this.
He's a pretty poor doodler.
Yeah, and that silhouette of a woman is no better. I think you've got it all.
Here's more signatures of his with the long tail.
Yep, and exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More signatures of his.
Wow. But as I said, the idea that I don't draw, that's 100% contradicted.
These are all drawings.
These are all drawings from Donald Trump. He doesn't care whether, what he says is absolutely refutable, absolutely contradicted by things we have and things we know.
You know, it's a shame that he didn't handwrite that letter, because his handwriting, as you can see here, and actually as you can see on my dad's thing, it's very very unique, actually.
Yes, it is.
Let me see if I can. Yeah, it's his handwriting itself is extremely unique.
Yeah. Yes, very good. And just look at that signature. There's the tail. There's the, kind of mountaintop, and there's the long L and D.
Yeah, I mean, this idea that it's not his signature, the only thing you can argue is that it's a really good forgery, because it looks exactly like, it looks identical to all these other ones.
But they're attempted proof that it isn't his signature. They say, well, compare it to real signatures. And the great fallacy of their proof is it's too late. They're talking about, close to 22 years later. The more contemporary signatures show indeed it's his signature.
Right. Yeah.
And it has been looked at by a graphologist, right, Sam?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have that? Here it is. Graphologist, as you said, I think you introduced this, but I want to reiterate it. Emma Bosch told Sky News, a very respectable, in fact, pretty center-right news organization, not, MSNBC. She said she compared the signatures with others the president wrote at the time, as you can see with your own eyes. And she said, quote, "It is very much the signature that he had in the 2000s. I can absolutely say it is Donald Trump's."
Right. That's why I'm confused. I'm confused why they're not arguing that it's just a good forgery. I guess that's giving too much. Even if they say that it is his, they're trying to play as much defense and deflection as humanly possible. But to say that it's
not his signature,
it's a good forgery.
I don't think they even said that.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's at least a little bit more. To say it's just not his signature, I mean, again, it's very easy to check this.
Yeah. And to argue it's a forgery is so far-fetched, as we say. Yeah. 22 years ago, someone would have gone to the trouble of all the expense and difficulty of hiring a forgery to send it to a private book that didn't get revealed until 22 years later. If you wanted to embarrass Donald Trump, this is the last thing you'd want to do. You'd want to make it public.
Maybe the forgery happened now. Maybe someone got a hold of the book and then added.
They haven't argued that. They haven't.
I know. I'm just saying.
I mean, look, you can come up with far-fetched.
Why are you getting mad at me?
Because you keep coming up with these far-fetched.
I'm just thinking through things. I'm not saying they're real. I'm just thinking through things.
But they're so far-fetched.
I agree. Just thinking out loud.
Maybe the Martians came down and,
Oh, stop.
That's how far-fetched what you're arguing is.
I'm just thinking out loud and thinking, just from their perspective, they could be doing better, in my opinion, playing defense if they really wanted to play defense like they are. They're not even doing a good job of playing defense.
Because they're so used to lying and so used to believing that they get away with their lies. I don't think they could credibly argue someone came and snuck this into the book, that Ghislaine Maxwell had prepared 22 years ago. That just is so far-fetched.
I agree. But I also okay, never mind. You're not taking this well. I'm not
taking it well because you're really deflecting and distracting.
I'm not. I
think you are.
This is a massive story. I think it's good to think about it in all directions. And I agree, when you go in those directions,
they're absurd.
They're ridiculous.
Yeah.
But why not think about what they might come out with next and be ready to deflect it, or et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I think they've come out with the best they can come up with at this point. But then again, you're right. I put nothing past them. If these lies don't work, they may come up with new lies. But I
think one of the big problems with messaging on the left is that they're always just reacting to what Donald Trump is saying in the moment and not thinking ahead and not thinking like, well, what if they say this is forged from 2022, or what if they
couldn't disagree with you more. Let them bring that up. Don't give them that out. Don't bring it up independently of them. If they want to argue that, let them argue that. Democrats finally have showed a spine, releasing this material in defiance of the Republican leadership. Don't give them, even suggest other arguments that they can make. Yeah, you might want to think about it and get ready, but there's no reason to give them other ways of dealing with this.
I mean, I think that they can figure out plenty of ways.
Probably so, but let them do it. Don't bring it up yourself.
Okay.
That's my point. That plays into their hands. It's more whataboutism. All right. So, not only can you believe your own eyes, and that was brilliant, Sam. I hadn't even thought of that, to bring out the 2016 letter I got from Trump. Absolutely verified signature, which looks just like, right?
Well, without the tail, but yeah.
Well, you can't have the tail because it's...
yes, if you look at just the Donald without the tail, it looks the same.
Exactly, but these others, which are also just the Donald, also have the tail. Another person, and I know she's very biased, so I wanted to bring up the independent professional first, Mary Trump, his niece, who knows the signatures. She's known him forever, said that's absolutely his signature. Now they're going to say, and with some justice, she hates Trump, she's a critic, she's biased, but it is another nail in the coffin of this absurd idea that this is not his signature.
That's it?
One more point before we get to our poll. Knowing that their back is to the wall. What's her name? Caroline Levitt? Did I get that right?
Caroline Levitt.
Caroline Levitt said, we'd be willing to submit this to a professional graphologist to look at. Of course, professional graphologists, and Ms. Betch is not the only one, have already looked at it and verified it. I think that's just another ploy. I don't think they are going to allow a true independent expert to look at this. Do you, Sam?
I don't know. I can't. That's why I try to think ahead about what they're going to do, because I try to figure it out. I don't know.
This is what they say.
Yeah, I don't
something
know.
that you've come up with to give them an excuse.
I'm not giving them an excuse. I'm trying to smother it from all positions, because if you just attack the signature is real, the signature is not, then they just pivot to something else, and then by that time, again, a lie spreads fast. Democrats are playing catch up. So why not smother the entire possibility that they can argue? Think about it, smother it all. So then just keep pivoting, and a lie travels faster than the truth. So
you make a good point there.
And the lie spreads across the country.
And that's why I started this by saying, forget the signature, forget the argument about, he never draws. Just look at what happened. This came out of a book that's been in the possession of officials for, close to 20 years. No way anyone could get at that to insert something like this. So on its face, before you get to anything else, it staggers the imagination that somehow Democrats or anyone else could have engaged a professional forger, professional graphologist, someone who knows exactly how Donald Trump talks, to somehow insert this into the birthday book.
I agree that they're going to say now, bring on an independent, and then once it comes, they'll come up with some new excuse of why they... the independent guy is a Clinton supporter, so we can't.
Right,
at the last minute they'll say,
right, he's a Democrat, a Trump hater, or they'll get one of their sycophants to be supposedly an independent.
Right.
I think that may be a more likely outcome, or they'll come up with some reason why they weren't able to find someone. I think they were just throwing that out, and they have zero intention of actually coming up with an independent graphologist to look at that. Thanks for watching our video. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and become a member today.